Hey y'all, iRick Guy here. Welcome back to another Timepieces for Tomorrow video. And today I've got an email from one of my top subscribers, 9er, and I respect everybody's identity, so I don't expose any of that. But I'm going to read the email, and I may substitute a few brand names and this, that, and the other, just for the sake of privacy. But the gist of this email, 9er says his gym locker was broken into and his Breitling SuperOcean was stolen. The insurance company, which I won't mention the name, is covering it, he says. But even after the claim, I'm not getting renewed. And then he says, that's the way it goes with watch insurance, wristwatch insurance. He says, now I've got three options. Replace it with the same watch. And again, it was the Breitling SuperOcean, which is an awesome reference. I love Breitling SuperOcean. Upgrade to the Panda Chrono, talking about the Tudor or the Chuda Panda Chrono. Or give it in credit to the two-tone Rolex Sea Dweller Winner Chicken Dinner around the end and beginning of the year. So he's on the wait list for the Sea Dweller two-tone. Something in my gut says this is quote-unquote found money, and this money for an old beat-up Breitling SuperOcean can be part of the money that goes towards the two-tone Sea Dweller. And he says he's got a new old stock Breitling Transocean, by the way, awesome timepiece, awesome reference from Breitling. If you haven't seen the Breitling Transocean, it's a very well made, very unique looking timepiece. And I'm going to go as far as to say it's a future classic. It's kind of a sleeper. And it's funny, you've been sleeping in your safe and you haven't... and he's got it on the shark mesh. That's the only way to get the Breitling Transocean. It's still wrapped in his safe. He says it's supposed to be his 5-year anniversary gift. Any advice? Okay, so my first, and we may have, hey George Cooney, if you watch one of my previous video responses to 9er, and the tree fell, and it's funny because after I filmed that video, the tree that George Cooney the raccoon was in, because we were talking about pandas, and you had a raccoon, a panda, talking about panda dial wristwatches. The tree that the trash panda was in, it fell, didn't hurt anybody, didn't hurt George Cooney the raccoon. So, if he was still here, I would be like, hey, and he's not down there, and let me see if I can text George Cooney the raccoon and consult. Have a consultation. He says he's on a conference call. Okay, do you know how long it may be? He says he's got to be considerate of his customer. Okay, so George Cooney may or may not join in. If he doesn't subscribe, check out my raccoon videos playlist and you can see George Cooney the raccoon. But I'm just going to cut right to the chase, 9er. Number one, thanks again for all of the excellent questions, the excellent commentary, and of course the super chats. You are more than generous when it comes to super chats and helping to support my channel, youtube.com/iRickSky, and the Timepieces for Tomorrow video series. I have a lot of fun with these videos, and I have a lot of fun responding to emails from viewers and subscribers like yourself. So in the scenario where, unfortunately, a Breitling SuperOcean was stolen at a gym, here's the good thing about it. Breitling is a great wristwatch. But, number one, if I had to have the Transocean or the SuperOcean stolen, I would probably say the SuperOcean, because it's pretty easy to source. They're still, to the best of my knowledge, they're not discontinued yet. Now, there are some of the Breitling SuperOcean references that are harder to find, but they're still pretty plentiful. And as far as being able to probably find them below MSRP, it's probably still pretty easy to do. Probably not the case with the Breitling Transocean. So from that perspective, it's unfortunate what happened, but it is a, at least you can put a smile on your face and say, hey, it wasn't the Transocean. And, like you said, you had wristwatch insurance. So, that's a positive. And it's, by default, it's like, okay, I just want to rush out and replace the same piece. But, as you know, any piece that you get, even if it's the exact same look and fit and finish and this, that, and the other, there's obviously going to be a different serial number associated with it, and it's not going to have the history of that piece that was taken away, not by choice. So with that being said, unless it's let's just call it a core reference in your portfolio, my thing would be I would let it go. Because would it potentially be easy to add another SuperOcean in the future? Probably so. It's a very popular reference, but at least at this point in time, even throughout 2020, it was never super hard to source. It was always somewhat plentiful. So taking that into consideration, I don't know if I would put those funds towards the two-tone Sea Dweller, which is an awesome piece. As I mentioned earlier, as our pontiff might say, winner, a chicken dinner. I mean, that's great. But what I would do? I would say, okay, you've already, and these are all assumptions, but I'm just going to tell you how I feel. You had already gotten on that wait list for the two-tone Sea Dweller. So you had already mentally prepared yourself. You wanted it. You were prepared to buy it when and if it comes in, whether that's tomorrow or, I don't know, 3 years from now, whatever the time frame may be, you're ready to get that. So for that reason, I would not use the funds from the stolen SuperOcean to go towards that. I would use them for something else. Maybe set it aside. Maybe, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not a recommendation to buy or sell security for anyone watching. But what I would do for entertainment purposes only, I would take that and put it into maybe an ETF, exchange traded fund, with that pays dividends. Maybe I'd do that. Something that historically has seemed to be somewhat stable. I would put it into that and just wait and see how that performs, and then based upon the performance of that, then go into the market. Okay, maybe it's a year from now, maybe it's 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and see where that dollar amount is then, and then look at the current wristwatch market and say, okay, there's things I would like. What would fit within X dollar amount? That's probably what I would do. I mean, unless I had the itch to get something else at that point in time, it's always good to have cash on hand that's not spent. Cash on hand that potentially could continue to appreciate. It's always good to have that, because when and if something new and awesome comes out, I mean, you never know what may be released annually. And I mean, there may be something that you're just biting at the bit to get, and maybe you're lucky and you're at the AD, the authorized dealer, and it's available, or maybe it's offered to you and you want to get it. See, if you have that cash set aside, then you could make a pretty quick decision. So I would definitely not put that towards something that I was already on the wait list for. And the reason being is that you got on the wait list, and when you did, at that point in time, I'm assuming you had no idea that your Breitling SuperOcean was going to be stolen. So when you made that decision, the possibility of having a timepiece stolen was not even on the table. So for that reason, I would definitely not put any of that towards the two-tone Sea Dweller. And then also, if you did, you would probably always have in the back of your mind, it's like, man, I got such a good deal about, for this. And then part of that in your mind would be, oh, and that's when I got my SuperOcean stolen. So I got, actually I got, X dollars put down toward. You don't want to have that associated with the acquisition of a new timepiece, because ultimately that will probably continue to provide you, whether you realize it or not, a feeling of guilt, and you don't want that. So I would set that aside. Maybe it's not the stock market, maybe it's some sort of startup venture, maybe it's some sort of small scale real estate investment. Whatever it may be, I would not put that in the pot for the two-tone seed welder. Just my opinion. Now, George Cooney, are you here? He's not there yet, but he will be later because I've got a ton of food. Oh, by the way, on the wrist, check this out. I know it's nothing fancy, but look at that strap, that rubber strap. That's the Omega Seamaster 300M pre-coaxial blue wave dial. You got the blue wave pattern. This was one of my original wristwatches because I like James Bond, and I thought that if I got the Omega Seamaster that I was going to be cool and get all the ladies like James Bond. And but I put it on the rubber strap because some people like it. I think the original bracelet that I've got, and I've still got, and it's packed properly, that came with the Omega Seamaster 300M that I got on the wrist, I think it looks kind of dated in today's market. Not just the market. I mean, I'm not trying to sell or trade, but it's amazing what a bracelet change, not a bracelet change, but a removal of bracelet, swap it out with a rubber strap, swap it out with a NATO, swap it out with a leather strap. It's amazing how you can bring new life to an old wristwatch just with a strap. So I mean, maybe you decide, okay, you've got X dollars because SuperOcean Breitling was stolen. Maybe you take a small amount of that, and maybe you just get on whatever site and just purchase yourself a wristwatch without a bracelet, without a strap. Maybe, I'm not saying an old Omega Seamaster 300M, but just find something that's kind of banged up and, but it's functional. Or maybe you need to go to a watchmaker and get it tuned up, and then get your own strap or your own bracelet or your own, make it look good. Maybe you do a project wristwatch. I don't know. That's up to you. But what I would not do, I would definitely not take any of that money and throw it down towards the two-tone seed dweller. I think that would, I'm a firm believer that would be bad karma. I know you've asked a bunch of questions here. I respect you as a viewer, and that's why I'm giving you my honest, unfiltered advice. Because if you did that, you're always probably going to have some sense of guilt or some sort of story associated with that seed dweller two-tone acquisition. It's just not pleasant. You don't want that. That's kind of like going and you go to, let's say insert destination XYZ here. You're at this phenomenal place. Let's say it's St. Bart's or whatever. But when you're there, you're in a horrific car crash, and you mangle your arm or your leg or whatever. You're not going to want to purchase during that trip a wristwatch and wear it, because if you do, it's going to bring back memories. It's like, oh, this is the insert brand here that I got after going down the street and getting hit by a scooter that had a piece of vinyl siding, and it cut my arm and now it's mangled. You don't want something that's going to potentially bring back a negative memory. So for that reason, I mean, in my opinion, you do what you want to do. But in my opinion, you putting any of that towards a two-tone sea dweller would be bad. Best opinion, put it in a safe. Other than that, you know, if you want to speculate with whatever form of investment, speculate if you want to. Expect to lose it all. Because think about it. If you didn't have that insurance, you would have lost it all. So if you look at it from that way, if you know in your mind it's kind of free money. Okay, well if it's free money, you know, maybe you take the biggest risk, willing to lose it all that you've ever taken. And if that really blows up, then it's like, okay, well, you know, I was gonna get, you know, whatever wristwatch, but now because I took a gamble and this appreciated to whatever dollar amount, now I'm in whatever territory. You know, maybe you get a tourbillon. You know, maybe you get something extremely high horology. Or maybe you get multiple banger wristwatches. I mean, I don't know. But I would definitely, no, I would not put a cent of that towards that two-tone sea dweller. And I would definitely not cancel that reservation on the wait list for the sea dweller, because that's a winner chicken dinner, as our pontiff would say. So I hope this video steers you in the correct direction. Let me see if George Cooney's down here. Hold on. Hey, George Cooney. He's not down there yet, but he will be soon, because I'm going to be throwing some food down. But I appreciate the email. Hope I provided some, at least some food for thought. I mean, again, you know, I'm not steering you where to go, but you asked, and you know, I'm going to provide my honest feedback. And I hate that George Cooney can't do it too, but maybe he will in a future video. Keep the questions coming. Niner, deeply appreciated. I appreciate your super chats, your questions, your extremely loyal support of Timepieces for Tomorrow. Thanks for your viewership, and you have a good day. Thanks again for watching this video, and want to remind everyone, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell icon when you do to be notified whenever I post another video. And if you've got a wristwatch or a wristwatch collection that you'd like for me to try to review within an upcoming video, send me an email, review@timepiecesfortomorrow.com. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day.